So we're now hearing of threats sent to multiple states, and it's coming from the White House, something that has happened multiple times if we ask local governments across the country. This is quite possibly one of the most important concerns early this year, as experts already believe that it's almost as important, if not more, than the threats from countries like Iran, Russia, China, and North Korea. Now, you might be thinking to yourself, hey Ron, what could be worse than that? Well, it's a problem that has flared up multiple times, and it continues to cause issues with many different states. Some believe that the issues are right now, they're at our doorsteps, and it's only a matter of time until millions of Americans are affected.
In a victory for the Biden administration, the Supreme Court ruled that Border Patrol agents can remove razor wire put in place along a stretch of the southern border in Texas.
Yeah, the wire installed near the Rio Grande River is the latest effort from Texas Governor Greg Abbott to prevent migrants from entering the country illegally. The Supreme Court's narrowly divided ruling came after an emergency request from the Biden administration that argued the wire was endangering migrants while preventing law enforcement from patrolling the area.
NBC News Supreme Court reporter Lawrence Hurley joins us now with more on this. Lawrence, good morning. So first, tell us how the Supreme Court ruled, and it's a short order, but what do you believe went into their decision?
Sure. So good morning to everyone. This is an interesting case because we don't really know, the reasoning behind what the court did. There's no description of the grounds on which they ruled. There's no description on why the four justices who dissented disagreed with the ruling. What we know is the arguments that were made, which is the Biden administration saying immigration is a basic federal function. The state doesn't have a role in this. The state can't stop Border Patrol agents from carrying out their duties. Whereas the state was saying this was basically trespass. The Border Patrol was going on private land, cutting through property that wasn't theirs. And that under Texas law, that's trespass. And they wanted to stop them from doing that.
Now, this has some Americans up in arms. And of course, we have different outlooks when it comes to the borders. However, we cannot deny the fact that people are on the terror watch lists and they've come through our borders inside the United States. Now, we know for a fact that some of these people are truly looking for asylum. They need help. They're trying to escape a very bad situation. But the fear is that some bad actors are taking advantage of this path. And this is the issue. Of course, as Americans, we want to protect those who need protection. But this is just some of what I've been hearing. But I know a lot of folks who are saying, that this is showing that the Supreme Court doesn't work for the American people. Do you guys agree with that? Now, there's also this huge disconnect between the White House and Governor Greg Abbott, because for Abbott, this isn't an issue of politics. It's an issue of taking care of Texas. So in Abbott's mind, Greg Abbott's mind, he's doing his job. He's trying to protect the people under his care. However, this doesn't quite line up with what the Biden administration wants. And this is where things become problematic, because now we got the Texas governor trying to kind of toe to toe with President Joe Biden of the United States. Now, again, we don't have to go with the politics here, okay? What we're talking about is Texas and the safety of Texas, something that Greg Abbott swears he will fight for. Because look at this, guys. He said this back and forth with the White House is not over. Now, before I go any further into this, do we have anyone here who lives in Texas? Maybe you have friends or family in Texas. Do you agree with your governor regarding this approach? Or do any of you guys feel as if it's just too much? Some are already telling Abbott to go against the Supreme Court itself, given that President Joe Biden did it when it came to student loans, right? However, we're gonna have to wait and see what he actually does.
Our News Nation cameras captured Texas officials doubling down and installing new razor wire and anti-climb fencing. The Texas Military Department has seized control of Shelby Park and are not allowing Border Patrol agents to conduct their normal operations. In order for agents to cut through the razor wire here in Shelby Park, they'll need to be let in by Texas officials. So far, we have not seen that or any attempts from federal agents to enter the park. This all comes as Mexican officials across the river have stepped up efforts to stem the flow of migrants on their way to the U.S. border. Sources in Mexico telling News Nation that Mexican officials are conducting operations on freight trains to stop migrants from riding train cars all the way to the U.S. border.
Now, one person that's telling Abbott, this is Representative Chip Roy, insisting that it's their duty to protect the people of Texas, and that this method is just one of the many ways in which they should do their job. He even told the Supreme Court to go to, well, I can't really exactly say where he told him to go, but y'all pretty much know where he went. He told him to go to a very hot place. Let's just say that. So this raises a huge concern, guys, not just for the American citizens, but for mayors and for governors across different states. You see, some analysts believe that this is happening in Texas because Texas is being governed by a Republican governor, which doesn't necessarily follow the White House's perspective when it comes to the border. Now, if you were the governor or the mayor of any city or state here in the country, you would question just how you'd be able to do your job if and when like your point of view kind of collides with whoever's in the Oval Office. You know what I'm saying? You see where this is going, right? It's a little bit tricky, but here's what Greg Abbott had to say about it.
My hope is that the United States Supreme Court and courts across the country, they see exactly what's happening on our border. It's not what happened under Bush or under Trump or under Obama. This is something completely different that has never happened before in the history of the country. This is an invasion by people we don't know who they are, where they're coming from, or the danger they may pose. And so it's right for Texas to have taken the steps that we have taken to crack down on the illegal crossings, to declare it an invasion and use every tool we can to do the job that Biden is not doing, and that's to try to deny illegal entry into our country.
This isn't just an issue with the leadership that we have now, okay? It could also work in the opposite direction if a Republican president was in office. You know what I'm saying, right? But of course, we have to hear from the White House as well, right? We have to keep this balanced because we just can't focus on one side, on what one side's saying without hearing the other side, you know? So it's hard to make an objective call if that's how we have to play it. So what's the word that's coming from the Biden administration?
I've been clear from the very beginning. The system is broken. My first day in office, I sent Congress a comprehensive plan on immigration reform. My friends on the other side have done nothing with it. Over and over, I've asked for resources to step up action at the border. In October, I asked Congress to fund for funding that would add another 22,000 additional border agents and officers, hundreds of new immigration judges to make the judgments on the spot, a new detection equipment to stop fentanyl from coming into the country. And by the way, I've worked with China and Mexico to slow the flow of fentanyl in the United States. As I speak, it's way down. So let me be clear. My team has been at the table for weeks now with a bipartisan group of senators to negotiate a deal, including border, because I believe we need significant policy changes at the border, including changes in our asylum system to ensure that we have the authorities we need to control the border. And I'm ready to act.
That action is most probably coming very soon because GOP lawmakers are eager to read the bill text on the border deal price. Now, it's been estimated to cost more than $14 billion. But of course, you know, they have to read it and not just sign off on it. Hopefully they actually read it this time. Now, as you guys already know, this funding is also connected to money that's kind of earmarked to be sent to the Ukraine. So it's going to be real interesting to see just how they let this kind of play out. But as far as we're concerned, this is pretty much the latest that's happening on that end. Now, on my part, though, I'm gonna do my best to keep you guys informed and updated on everything that's going on around us, especially events and changes that definitely impact our lives. Before I go, I just want to thank you guys for hanging out. Thanks for hitting the like button. Thank you for subscribing, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Y'all be safe.